The US country reports on many issues in Nigeria for 2023. Human rights, corruption, many issues. It is out and is very, very damning. Let's start with corruption. The summary is that Tinubu continued the endemic corruption from the last administration. In fact, he brought it to a whole new level by appointing a known corrupt person that laundered money, Nigerian money, for Abacha in the 90s. The report expressed disappointment that Tinubu could appoint someone like Bagudu, despite all the revelation of the money laundering he undertook under Abacha, and majority of that money has been repatriated to Nigeria. In fact, the worst part of it is that this same man, being a minister, opposed the repatriation of $150 million from France, insisting that he has interest in the money, that before it will be repatriated to Nigeria, that he must be paid 20% of the money. This is coming from a serving minister. This can't be real. Nigeria can't be a real place. Why can a serving minister sabotage Nigerian government, sabotage the Nigerian people? And Tinubu accepted. Yes, they paid him 20%, which is $30 million, before the $150 million could be repatriated to Nigeria. Imagine someone stole Nigerian money and laundered it to foreign countries. These countries want to repatriate that money back to Nigeria because they know it belongs to the Nigerian people. And the same man that stole that money is giving condition that he must be paid a certain percentage before that money could be returned to the real owner. And this man is the serving minister. The person that is supposed to put him in jail, even without trial in this case, is the one that is accepting that he should be paid 20% before Nigerian people can get back their money. When people say a criminal enterprise is running Nigeria, you can see it's not far from the truth. How can this be possible in a normal country? And the worst part is that National Assembly members just passed this man. They just say, hey, bow and go. They didn't even raise any objection, despite all the money he laundered abroad. Nigerian money that they stole directly from the central bank. The same man has been elevated to a ministerial position. This is not real. You see, this is why it is very wrong to always be blaming the West. Many Africans have a penchant for blaming Western countries for African problems. You see, Western countries are better at defending their interests and their countries, their citizens, than we can ever be in Africa. No Westerner can exploit an African country without the active participation of a local. This is how it works. They can't fly in and force themselves on your people without you accepting and participating. In Africa, a majority do not understand the concept of patriotism, not to talk of defending the interests of their country. In fact, when you oppose people in power, when you ask questions, who stole this money? Why was it stolen? Money that is supposed to be used to develop the country for everyone. The person is termed an enemy of the country. How in the world will someone asking questions about the development of his country become the enemy? So they do not understand this. That's why they can sell their country. They can sabotage their country for pennies. Yes, if there is no willing buyer, there will not be a willing seller. That's how it works. So Africans must stop blaming Western countries for their problems. Deal with the issues of corruption. All the people that are corrupt, that are sabotaging your countries, deal with them first before you start talking about bankers abroad that receive laundered money. They are out for business. If someone didn't launder money to them, they will not receive it. And now their government is doing the right thing by repatriating the money that was initiated by an African in the first place. And now they want to repatriate the money. The launderer has the audacity to say that he must receive a percentage before the money can be repatriated to the owner. Instead of stopping, this is crazy. Instead of saying no, he can't have this money because he's not the real owner, he stole it from Nigerian coffers, they accepted simply because they are birds of the same feather. Maybe that 20% will be shared among many people. Who knows? Whatever you think the West is doing wrong, Africans do worse. Look at their countries, compare them. Yes, they started far earlier than Africans, but how many years ago did many African countries receive their independence? There can't be any excuse. At least Western countries, they develop their economies, they develop their countries. Look at their living condition and compare that to people in Africa. In fact, in most cases, in many African countries, living condition during the colonial era was better than what they have today. Take Nigeria, for instance. In many cities during the colonial era, they had running water. How many cities have running water today, 2024 in Nigeria? So our problem lies within. We must solve the problem. If not, we will never advance. No one will intervene in a sovereign country. We must solve our problems ourselves. Forget about the mixed message coming from the US. Yes, the presidential election was flawed. Everyone saw what happened. But you people accepted everything. Yes, despite the fact that you might not have voiced your support, but you accepted because you didn't protest. Silence is complicity. The fact that no one protested means that everyone accepted the result. Even the people that did all the abracadabra, the fact that no one challenged them and said, it's wrong, no, we won't accept it, we'll live in the streets till everything is reversed. That's why they are bragging today. They will tell you all sorts of stories to justify what they did. So if Nigerians didn't protest, didn't resist whatever happened during the time, why will a foreign country come and do something negative? They will go along with everything. After all, foreigners shouldn't be more concerned about the well-being of Nigerians than Nigerians themselves. Charity begins at home. You have to be fighting and be saying, hey, come and help us before people will start helping you. Not you sit idle, fold your hands and hoping that God will come down and do it for you, or you leave everything to fate. And you expect that another person will come and start fighting for you. It doesn't work that way. So for people saying there are mixed messages from US, why are they now challenging Tinubu and exposing the corruption when they should have done better during the campaigns before the election and all that they are saying? What and what did you guys do for your own country before blaming a foreigner? Yes, the country belongs to you. You have to protect your home before an outsider will come to your help. There's a local saying that if two people are fighting, they must continue fighting till the police arrives to separate them. If one person stops fighting, the other person might seriously injure him before the police arrives to separate the fight. So you must start helping yourself first before someone else can join you. Your neighbor, a foreigner, anybody. Look at India and the kind of progress they've made. They understand patriotism better than most Africans. Yes, they got independence much earlier than many African countries, but who would have thought that today a British Prime Minister will be begging an Indian Prime Minister for a free trade deal? Who would have thought that it will be possible in this century? Yes, that's progress. Africans will be looking for handouts. The little revenue that is generated here, fellow Africans will be stealing them and laundering them to Western countries. Bystanders in Africa will be blaming the West for the problems in Africa, while fellow Africans steal Africa blind and invite foreigners to come and help them to finish off the job. So the problem is within. We must solve that problem before we start blaming any other person. And when many countries of goodwill see that we are solving that problem, they will definitely come to help. That's how it works. Now, let's see what the report said about elections in Nigeria. They focused mainly on the governorship election in Lagos State. We all know what happened during the governorship election. After Labour Party won Lagos during the presidential election, they changed strategy. All these were reflected in the report. Many thugs openly threatened Igbo people not to come out to vote except they are voting for APC. Since the Fourth Republic, starting from 1999, this kind of rhetoric has never been witnessed in Nigeria. But it happened during the governorship election. Not just Igbos fell victim, many Yorubas and other ethnicities fell victim. The report specifically mentions Ojo local government area, where there was violence, many thugs burned ballot papers, prevented people from voting because they knew that these people will never vote for APC. So they didn't want them to vote at all so that they wouldn't have any result to bank on in case of any future election litigation. They changed this strategy because of what they saw during the presidential election. In fact, if they knew that the presidential election result would have been what it was, they would have deployed the same strategy during the presidential election. So this sums it up. They saw everything that happened during the elections. Many Western organizations, including the EU, observed the election. In fact, EU released a damning report, which of course they threw away. They refused to accept it as evidence during the litigation at the Court of Appeal. So Western countries saw everything that happened. It's not as if they would have sided with the government in case people trooped out en masse on the streets of Nigeria demanding a rerun of the election or a declaration of the real results. But many people just gave up. After all, it's just 4 years. We'll try again.